Well, good afternoon, everybody. Actually, it's not even after. Well, it's afternoon because it's 10 o'clock at night, so it's very afternoon. It's pre-midnight. It's evening. Good evening, everybody. It is I, Jeff Darling, your host, your commissioner, and I've been nerding out on a couple things because I can't help myself. What we're gonna do here, folks, is we're gonna do our week 3 recap. We'll do our week 4 preview. We will talk about our prop bet winner from this week. Congratulations, Steven. That was an exciting race. And then we'll talk about what a prop bet is for week 4. And then I've got a little tidbit for you guys because, well, we'll just keep that for later. I'll come back to that. Okay, first off, so week 3 recap. We had some interesting matchups. We had a couple starting off. We'll just start with me and Jason. We had 2 undefeated teams. Now, granted, to call someone undefeated after 2 weeks seems like a stretch, but neither of us had lost, so the statement is true. I lost. I went to bed with in the third quarter of that Lions-Ravens game, and at that time, my guy had scored and Jason's guy had scored, and I was down by 1 point, and I felt we'll see what happens. Woke up in the morning, checked the score, rubbed my eyes because it was really early and I thought I was misreading, but no. Somehow, Jason's guy scored 20 more points, and mine didn't do anything. So I lost. 120.86 to 103.46. The only consolation is that I don't think I could have won any combination of my bench points. Although, guys, oh my word, Mark Andrews. This is why fantasy football is so wonderful and terrible. The first 2 weeks, week 1, 1 point. He had 1 catch for 5 yards. Week 2, 1 catch for 2 yards. I started in both weeks, and I said, you know what, week 3, Mark, you're not going to fool me. I'm not going to keep putting my faith in you. I started in week 2 because, surely week 1 was a fluke. Started Jake Ferguson on the Cowboys. He did great. He got me 16 points. You cannot complain, but 14.7. Maybe I can complain. Mark Andrews, 24.2 points on the bench. I just don't understand. I don't understand what the Ravens are doing. They're 1-2. They're upset. I'm 2-1. Not as upset. Look at that little pomodoro. What's it called? Conan O'Brien haircut. Okay, that's enough. I've rambled for 2 minutes about my own game. What is this? Just my sounding board, my therapy session? Yes, it is. Next up, we had, so congratulations, Jason, 3-0. Now you can proudly say that you're undefeated because 3 in a row, that's pretty good. We had the Queen and Dan Pond. This was a strange matchup. The projections was a healthy, supposed to be a healthy victory for Hannah, 112 to 96. Both teams massively underperformed. 79 for Dan, 74.74. I like the symmetry there for Hannah. Unfortunately for you, 5 points below Dan's very low score equals another loss for you. 2 weeks in a row where you have a very good projection and the team just kind of poops the bed. Like Amber Heard. All right. So, yeah, don't know what happened there. On the bench, Hannah, the only thing you could have done is if you had, who would do this, though? Somebody might. Hunter Henry, tight end for the Patriots. If you'd started him instead of Zach Ertz, you win handily. 25 points left on your bench with that one individual, Hunter Henry. Hannah, start Hunter Henry. But next week, it's going to be Zach Ertz. Who knows? Anyways, congrats to Dan getting his first win of the year. Hannah falling to 1-2. Dan moving up to 1-2. Next up, a very interesting matchup. Steven, our newcomer, really needed to pick me up. I persuaded him into joining this group, and my plan was for him to do as poorly as he's been doing. We needed someone to be a good old basement dweller, someone that's fun to pick on, and Steven, you're an obvious candidate for that, for many reasons. Number one, Steven, just, I don't know what I'm saying. It's late. I'm tired. But Steven needed this. Twofold. But going up against Creature had a very high projection, 117 Creature to Steven's 105 projection. And what happened? Everyone died on Sean's team. Well, not really. Really just one person died. CeeDee Lamb which from a personal aspect, I'm a little disappointed. This season already seems to be quite miserable for the Cowboys, but what are you going to do? Going to get blown out by the Bears is what you're going to do, and you're going to lose your best player, and you're going to trade your other player to the Packers, but that's another story. CeeDee Lamb goes out in the first quarter, 0 points. And they tried to run him. Why are you running little lanky CD? Like, throw him that ball, let him get out in the open. Don't make him run, get rolled up on. Sean, congrats, man. You did half of what your projection was. 63.24. And Steven, congratulations. You played one of 3 teams that you would have beaten this week, and you did it. You did it. You played the right one, and you win. So you get your first win, and I can't even help myself. No, I can. We'll come back to Steven's other victories later, even though I've already said it. So congrats to Steven getting his first win. Same record. Steven and Sean are both 1 and 2. This may be, Sean, your worst start of all time. I'm not saying I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to say that out loud. But you know what we're all thinking. But we're rooting for you, buddy. All right, next up we had Gone Fishing going up against Michael. Boy, Michael, you scored great, 109.22. What are you going to do? Don't play Matt. You could have played any of the other people that I mentioned, and you would have won, except for Jason. Matt just put up 148.54 points. This whole Jalen Hurts strategy seems to be paying off, 20.9 from him. And the funny thing about that is you had more points from your bench quarterback, Caleb Williams, old fingernails himself, with 30 points on your bench. A lot of bench points, more on that later. But yeah, 20 from Jalen. I mean, when you're getting everyone in the teens, 16 from Gibbs, 16 from Cook, that leads to a lot of points. So congrats to Matt. Also, our other undefeated team. So 2 teams that are 3-0. Michael falls to 1 and 2. Next up, we had Carlos taking on Greg. I think most people expected Greg to win this. Although projections, Carlos 116. Carlos, what happened, buddy? Your team on paper looks amazing. Except I've never looked at it on paper. I've only looked at it on my iPad and on my phone. So digitally, it sucks. So sorry about that. Projected 116, only put up 84.82. What are you going to do? You got Josh Allen. He's got to do more. But he got you 23. What can you be asking for? What more could you want? Maybe more than 6 points from Jamar Chase. But Jamar Chase, Joe Burrows goes out. What are you going to do? Hannah, we know what you're going through. It's tough. It's tough. And Greg put up a solid, exceeded projections. You always like when that happens. Projected 110, actually got 115. Strong performances from your running back core. Old Baker giving you a good amount. And you had not a lot of bench points. I think you had even said you wish that the bench challenge was last week because you would have done better. But hey, you got the win, so don't complain. Last matchup we had was Mike taking on Brandon. Brandon, 100 points, not bad. You would have beat half the league. But you played Mike, and Mike had the second highest point total. Mike putting up massive points last week and this week. 145 to 100.66. What are you going to do? 27 points for Lamar Jackson. 33 points for Jonathan Taylor. Those 2 people alone, I think, beat Sean. And I don't get to say that often. 13 from Chuba Huba. 13 Devontae Adams. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's a lot of points. I didn't get any of those. Okay, so that's our week 3 recap. Congrats to everybody. Mike moves up to 2 and 1. Brandon falls to 1 and 2. So our rankings right now, this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Or should I do our week 4 projections first? No, let's talk about our standings. I went through, if you recall, this is getting lengthy. It's 9 minutes long. It's 10:30. I'm very tired. I made the proposal for playing against the league average in our group, and you guys voted it down. Now, to recap, what would happen is you would have played you get your normal win or loss from your head-to-head matchup, but then we would take the composite average score from that week's of scores, 12 teams, you add up all the points that everyone scored, divide that by 12, and that's what the average score is for the week. And then, depending on whether you scored above or below the average, you either get an additional win or an additional loss. And that way, you're making sure that the teams that are scoring the highest, even if they lose because they had like Michael's matchup, right? Scores 109 points, scores against someone that scored 120 or whatever it was. You don't get penalized for having the one matchup that you would have lost to. And then if you won, say a stinker of a game, Dan taking on Hannah, you're not getting rewarded unfairly for playing against the one person you could have beat. So the whole idea was to make sure, as in the actual NFL, this is all fantasy, so I know why we didn't do it. But, you know, it's to reward the best teams, the ones that consistently have the best players, end up in the playoffs. So, I've been going through, spoiler alert, 3 weeks in, I've been going through and I've been keeping track of what the records would be. So, reading it down for our actual standings is Matt 3-0, Jason 3-0, third place Mike 2-1, Greg fourth place 2-1, Jeff Boys fifth place 2-1, and this is based off of points scored, so record and then points scored. Sixth place Michael 1-2, seventh Brandon 1-2, eighth Sean 1-2, ninth Hannah 1-2, Steven is 10th 1-2, Dan is 11th 1-2, a lot of 1-2 teams, and then the last place Carlos at 0-3. So Matt, Jason, Mike, Greg, Jeff, Michael, Brandon, Sean, Hannah, Steven, Dan, Carlos. The updated rankings of what it would be if we were doing against the league average is first place would be still Matt, who would be 5-1. There was 1 week that he won, but it was below the league average, so he would have a loss from that. So 5-1, still in first place. Second place would actually be Mike. 4-2 would be his record instead of 2-1. All 3 weeks he's beat the league average. No, 2 weeks he's beat the league average, once he didn't. But he scored the second most points, so he moves into second place. Third place is very surprising. Unlimited vetoes, Michael. You would have a 4-2 record because you are 1-2, but every week you have scored above the league average. So instead of being 1-2 and in seventh place or sixth place, you would be in third place because of your points scored, and you'd be 4-2. Interesting. Greg would be fourth at a record of 4-2 instead of 2-1. I would be fifth at 4-2 instead of 2-1. Jason, instead of being second place at 3-0, would be fifth place at 4-2 based on points scored. Out of the 5 4-2 teams, Jason, you would have the least amount of scored points. So it's kind of just interesting. And then from there, Sean, who is 1-2 and just hurting right now, would be 3-3 because 2 weeks he scored above the league average. So Sean would be 3-3. From there, all the other 1-2 teams, Brandon and Hannah would be 2-4 instead of 1-2. Steven and Dan would be 1-5 instead of 1-2. And then Carlos, it's not good news for you. Instead of being 0-3, you'd be 0-6. So, you know, get your calendar ready. But again, it's just interesting. I'll continue to monitor it. I'll continue to see how the rankings would have played out, and maybe it's something we consider. You know, maybe you're happy with the way things are, and you're glad the proposed change isn't in effect. All right, I've belabored the point too much. I don't think anyone's even listening anymore. My voice, I'm losing it. I could be doing so many more important things than this right now. All right, so real quick, our week 4 matchups. Let's take a look here. Dallas Jeff Boys are taking on, let's see here, Creature. Right now, projected Creature 109 to the Jeff Boys 108.9, so very close matchup there. Jason taking on Hannah. Right now, projected Hannah 115 to Jason's 102. We'll see what happens, Hannah. Your projections have not been your friend recently. The Toilet Bowl, just kidding. Dan versus Steven. Right now, projected Steven 101.4 to Dan's 100.8. Both teams looking to make it to 500 there. We'll see who doesn't do it. Carlos, the lowest scoring team, taking on the highest scoring team right now. Carlos versus Matt, projection Matt 117 to Carlos's 110. The next matchup, Michael versus Mike, the battle of the Michaels. Michael projected 114, Mike projected 112. And the last matchup is going to be Brandon and Greg. Brandon is projected 108.6 to Greg's 110.8. 8, which takes me back to, where was I? Our prop bets for week 3 was the highest scoring bench total, and it came down ultimately to 2 teams, and it was fantastic how close it was because somebody took the time to do the math. A little spoiler alert, if you open up the fantasy app on your computer, it'll tally up what your bench points are, so you don't have to do it in your head like you do on the app. But Matt did the math for me and saw that he was losing to Steven, and I did quick mental math. I was like, oh, Matt, you need your guy that scored 2 points and 2 points to get you 15 points. And wouldn't you know it, he got him 14.8. And so Steven was our big winner for week 3's prop bet, coming in with a score of his bench of 77.82, nearly outscoring your starters. 77.82 to Matt's 77.42, a 0.4 differential, which is amazing. Okay, week 4. Here is what the prop bet is for week 4. The winner goes to the highest scoring loser. So this goes to the team that loses but scores the highest amount of points. Starters, not bench. The starting team that scores the most points but loses their matchup, you get a consolation $10. That is what our prop bet is for week 4. I'm very sorry this was 16 minutes, but maybe you watched it in double speed. I'll put a note that you guys should watch this in double speed until I get to the part about the... Anyways, all right, good night. Have a great night. Bye. Check your lineups.